relationships have endings, and that's okay. And not every relationship that ends is necessarily a failed relationship.
Talk about it.
You know, because in that season that you were in that period of time within your life, that's exactly what you needed. That's the partner that you needed to grow within those ways at that time.
What about you? What would you tell your younger self about love and relationships?
Okay. Ooh, younger self. I think the first thing I would tell my younger self about relationships would be to learn how to communicate your feelings. If I were able to...
know who you talking about too.
Hey, yo, we on standby real quick. We got some technical difficulties. Somebody need to get bruh. I don't like you right now. But yes, learning how to communicate my feelings would be the first thing. And the reason why I say this, since someone wanted to bring it up, is because my first girlfriend in high school was someone who, if I would have communicated the way that I felt more effectively, I think we could have had an ending that was worth the meaning of the relationship and the significance it had in my life. Instead, it kind of, the way that I ended it didn't reflect how much she meant during that time or any of that. It was more like a reflection of my inability to communicate and my fear and like insecurity in that. So if I was able to tell my younger self to like, hey, take a breath, calm down, think about, maybe write down whatever process you need to actually formulate your feelings authentically, but also in a way that is able to be heard and that again respects the connection of the person that you are in a relationship with. I think I've learned that now, and it's always a gradual thing regardless of what that feeling or emotion might be. It could be grandiose, like happy, romantic shit. I've done that before, you know, and that's great. That's a little bit on the other spectrum. But also the more difficult feelings of sadness or maybe rejection or whatever else you might be feeling. Those are way more difficult to communicate. And back then, I would just run away from them things. I was like, oh shit, there's a way to get out of this situation without actually communicating my emotions? Shit, let me take that shortcut. We out. Like, I would be gone. But as I've grown...
Growth, baby.
Yes, for sure. As I've grown, I've definitely taken the other path, just because I think it's way more effective with those relationships that I do want to keep intact. Now, to those other relationships, which goes to my second point of advice to myself. Oh, you could just chuck the deuces to them motherfuckers. Like, you need to cut them off ASAP. So my second piece of advice to my younger self about relationships would be, yo, when something's done, especially when the vibe, like your intuition is telling you something is done, it is done.
Stop trying to force it.
Don't force a goddamn thing. It's a wrap. Okay? The feeling's gone. So this refers to, going back to my another ex of mine that I had. This one obviously is a little bit further ahead. It's in college this time, but still my younger self. And I knew like that this relationship had run its course. Yet I wanted to live up to some idea of some guy who could get through the animosity or whatever turmoil of the relationship and all that other bullshit, and thinking like, the struggle love bullshit that we talked about before on the podcast, where it's like the more I can endure within this relationship, the more it validates the fact that this relationship is worth fighting for. And it's just a vicious cycle, you know? So instead of doing that bullshit, I would have told my younger self, hey yo, relationships have endings, and that's okay. And not every relationship that ends is necessarily a failed relationship.
Talk about it.
You know, because in that season that you were in that period of time and within your life, that's exactly what you needed. That's the partner that you needed to grow within those ways at that time. If you outgrow or you grow apart, because you know, sometimes it's not outgrow. Sometimes it really is just like, yo, we have different
directions.
Yeah, word. Like, you going that way, I'm going this way. We
Ain't
just
nobody
can't.
wrong.
Like, if I'm going towards the camera, towards you, and you going all the way over there, how I'm gonna do that? I can't. That was kind of cool. Hey, I mean, let me stop. But yo, you get the point. Two different directions. You gotta split that up and stop trying to hold on to the idea of like, oh yeah, we're together forever, and we can make it through the fact that she wants to live in Asia and I want to live in America, and she's completely committed to that, and we don't like talking on Zoom, and it's like, but we'll see each other every 2 years, even though our love languages are quality time and physical touch. Huh? What? No, that's not gonna work. And if it did work, you'd be forcing yourself to make it work and be miserable at the same time. And then resentment will kick in. Another thing we talked about before. So yeah, those are the two things I would definitely say about relationships. Lastly, I guess, I would say, don't be afraid to be your authentic self, little man, because you're great. You have a great personality, and the people who will vibe with you will vibe with you, and those that don't, you know, go back to rule number 2. Jump to juice.
See number 2.
That's what I got for for that question too.
All right,
let's go on to the next one, y'all. I definitely want to hear from the audience about those that question, because I think it's, you know,
yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one, you know. Tell us about maybe your past relationship, romantically, or with what Rocky was talking about. It could be a family member, a friendship. I mean, we didn't go into that, but I know you could have gone that direction too.
Yeah, that's true. Check out our Lovers and Friends episode in the link below.
Yeah. Check it out.
Or in the description below. Yeah.
It'll be below. Somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah. Check it out. Alright, on to the next question. Flip it. You call it this one.
Heads.
Damn. 2 for 2.
I'm on it today.
Hey, she on it.
When would you go back and why?
Damn. I ain't think about this one yet. When would I go back? Well, first, let me ask y'all. When would you go back? Like, all right, you got this time machine, right? It can go back in time to any time period in your life where you can tell your younger self something. When would you go back? Why would you go back to that specific time? Like, what is it about that time? I think I would go back to the time, not when my ex cheated on me immediately, but that time when I was like, and I don't know exactly when, so maybe my time should be all fucked up. But if I could pinpoint the date, like, it was just a time when I was working in Brooklyn, commuting from Jersey all the time. Shit was like a bitch, and it's snowing heavy and all this other shit. So, you know, yeah, it was a bitch.
Public transit in snow?
Yup, taking the A train all the way to East New York. Crazy shit.
Nobody knew.
Taking the A and then the C, and it's like, fuck. So all this
letters.
Yeah, I don't even know if the system is working the same way, because, you know, they change stuff up. But usually New York's old ass system is reliable to be the same. Exactly. But yeah, those of y'all who from New York, y'all know what I'm talking about. Especially if you've ever had to commute from fucking Jersey. Sheesh. That's the path, the A, and the C, depending on when you catch that shit. If you're not taking the express, it's a bitch. So, anyways,
some trauma there.
a little bit. So back then, I was going through that whole breakup process, like, processing what actually happened to me, how I was involved, taking accountability, at least fighting through that stage of victim versus accountability, so that I could actually grow. That back and forth battle that we go through when we have a breakup. I would try to tell myself, or I would go back there and tell myself about how some of that within the breakup, or in a relationship, not necessarily a breakup, was my fault, to give myself some introspection, but in a way that I could actually hear. Because at that time, that was like the block from my growth, was that lack of accountability. Because I wanted to be the victim, because I wanted to still feel as though I wasn't in the wrong. Because something traumatic did happen to me, and I wanted to feel that. But in order to let go and grow, I would have had to
look at both sides.
It's two sides of the same coin, to see what was going on for me. So I think I would have just done that for myself, which I actually did do, because that was me who was doing that throughout the whole process. But I feel like actually having me from the future break it down to myself in a way that was compassionate and empathetic, it would have really brought a lot of clarity and a lot less of the grief that I was going through during that time. Because I think that was probably one of the darkest times I was going through. Just shit that I wouldn't even really recognize those feelings anymore, because I don't even allow myself to even get anywhere towards that. I'll either do some self-care shit, or I'll just, because I know myself so well now, But yeah, that's where I would go back to. Sometime after the breakup, while I was working in Brooklyn, doing those commutes, sometimes just be like, on the weekends, would just be like drinking shit, and just be like, weekends, that feeling of like weekends was an escape, and then it was like, all right, let me go to work. That shit was trash. Yeah, that's when I would go back. What about you?
So there would be a lot of times that I would go back, honestly. There's a lot of major things and significant things that happen. But I think if I had to pinpoint a time, I would go back when I was 13. Because, hey, it's the Real Family. It's your girl, Rocky.
And your boy, Elsa.
And thanks for being here. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell.
Right, because subscribing and hitting that notification bell does two very important things. One, it gives you notification on our new content and make sure that you're up to date on everything that we put out every week.
Every week.
Every week.
Every week.
And then number two, it helps your boy and your girl out with some money. You know what I'm saying? Let's just keep it honest.
It's so real, baby.
But in all seriousness, this is just like the video portion, the YouTube portion of our content. We are It's So Real podcast. So we have all these episodes just waiting for y'all on how many platforms?
11 different streaming platforms.
11.
So it's up to you to choose.
Yeah, there's no excuses. We on everything. So whatever platform you're most comfortable listening to stuff, your content on, we're right there for you. So look us up. It's So Real Podcast.
And our link tree is available on our YouTube channel. Go over there, find the platform that works best for you, subscribe to our podcast, and hear the full thing. Because we have a lot more to say than what shows up on our YouTube channel.
Exactly. With that being said, check out the rest of our videos while you're here.
And be sure to subscribe.
All right, y'all. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
And love.
Always.